You found someone, and the relief was so total you didn't notice what you'd handed over. That's the part no one talks about. Not the falling, but the quiet surrender that looks, from the inside, exactly like being saved. Simone Weil saw it. She called it affliction, and she meant something far more precise than pain. There's a specific kind of love that arrives when you are most hollow. You are tired, or lost, or you've been alone long enough that your own company has started to feel like a punishment. And then someone appears and the hollowness fills. You call it love. You might be right. But Weil would ask you something harder. Filled with what exactly? And at what cost to the shape you were before? Simone Weil was a French philosopher who died in 1943 at 34. And she spent her short life thinking about one question with almost unbearable intensity. What does it mean to truly attend to another person? Not to need them, not to project onto them, not to consume them, but to see them. She called this attention, and she believed it was the rarest thing in the world, rarer even than love, because most of what we call love is not attention at all. It is hunger wearing attention's face. Think about the early days. How much of that intensity was actually about them? Their specific texture, their particular silences, the way they held a coffee cup, and how much was about the relief they provided. The relief of not being alone, the relief of being chosen. Will would say those are not the same thing as love, though they can exist alongside it. And the trouble is, they feel identical from the inside. Hunger and devotion wear the same expression. She wrote that the danger in love is that we do not give ourselves to the other person. We give ourselves to an image of them. An image we have built to serve our own needs, to fill our own gaps. And the real person, the one who is actually there, keeps brushing up against that image and failing to match it. Not because they are flawed, but because no real person can sustain the weight of being someone else's salvation. That weight eventually breaks the image. And when the image breaks, it can feel like the person broke you. There's a moment most people recognize, though they rarely name it. It happens somewhere in the middle of a long relationship, or sometimes very quickly. You realize you are not responding to who they are today. You are responding to who they were in the version of them you needed them to be 6 months ago or 6 years ago. And they have moved as living people do. But you are still in conversation with the image. We'll call this a failure of attention. It is also one of the most ordinary forms of loneliness. The love that saves you is often the love that stops you from becoming yourself. Not through cruelty. That would be easier to see. Through comfort. Through the way you stopped asking certain questions because the relationship made them feel less urgent. Through the self you quietly set aside because the version of you that fit this love was easier to maintain. Will said that real love requires that we renounce the self, but she meant something very specific. She did not mean erasure. She meant the ego's need to possess, to consume, to make the other into a mirror. There is a difference between those two kinds of disappearing, and it matters enormously. What she was reaching toward, and this is the part that is almost impossible to hold, is that genuine love is a kind of decreation. Her word. To decreate is to step back from the center of your own vision so that another person can exist in their full reality, not filtered through your needs. It is not self-destruction. It is more like learning to look without wanting to own what you are looking at. Most of us have felt this briefly in our most honest moments with someone we loved. A second where we simply saw them without agenda. She believed those seconds were the whole point. And here is where Weil refuses to be comforting. She does not tell you that this kind of love is easy to find or easy to sustain. She does not tell you that if you work on yourself, you will achieve it. She says almost plainly that affliction, real suffering, is often what strips away the ego's grip enough to make true attention possible. The loves that break you open are not accidents. They are the ones that showed you where you were still holding on to yourself too tightly. That is not a reason to seek pain. It is a reason to take your heartbreak seriously as teachers, rather than just as wounds. You probably know which love this was for you. The one that felt like rescue and became quietly a kind of captivity. Not because they were wrong for you, but because you were using them as a hiding place. Or the one where you were the image they needed. And you felt the weight of that slowly, the way you feel a cast that was meant to help you but has stayed on too long. Both of those are what Weil was pointing at. Both of them can, if you stay with the discomfort rather than leaving quickly, teach you what kind of attention you are actually capable of. She never had what most people would call a romantic love. She died young, in exile, having given most of herself to questions few people wanted to sit with. There is something in that worth noticing, not as tragedy, but as a kind of integrity. She was not interested in the love that completed her. She was interested in the love that told the truth. And the truth she kept returning to was this: that to love well is to be perpetually asked to see past your own reflection in the other person. It is hard. It is ongoing. It does not arrive and stay. It is more like a direction you keep choosing or keep failing to choose every ordinary day. So maybe the question is not whether a love saved you or broke you. Maybe those were never opposites. Maybe the love that broke your image of yourself, the one that showed you where you were hungry rather than present, where you were consuming rather than seeing, maybe that one was doing exactly what love is supposed to do. Not making you comfortable, making you more honest. That's what Weil was saying quietly across 80 years of distance. And it is still somehow not easy to hear.